All right, hello and welcome to another Chronowalker Time Walk champion analysis. Next, we've got Iblis, one of our new champions. We got Bellum and Phage coming together for this champion. She's an elf, but let's, I guess, jump into her stats. So we've got 26 health, so we're already at the high end of the health pool, and later it'll become clear why I said already. But what are we paying for that? Wow, we have 80 aura and 0 energy, so we are not getting the energy we're used to with Bellum champions at all. And 80 aura is very much in the low, and I think that is the lowest that a champion
It
has.
is
I'll have to
indeed
check
the
that.
lowest, yeah.
Hopefully, if we're paying for that, we're going to get something good. So let's take a look. So action, heavy electric attack 3. So I love electric attack 3, but we've only got 4 awareness and we're action speed. We're really paying for that health pool. So there's got to be something else, and Iblis does not disappoint. So we have a continuous damage resistance 1. All damage dealt to you is reduced by 1. Wow. Talk about a high health pool, like 26 plus that ability. We are very much in a tank paladin design. I mean, you can see with her awesome sword there and her awesome armor. Um, but yeah, I mean, so what are your thoughts, Eric? Like, what direction do you go? What are the weaknesses? That
Yeah,
strength?
and yeah, exactly. Like as a tank paladin, we can't even put her in like any of the fighter mage summoner because of her low aura, no energy. But she's so hard to kill that just a tank really just kind of fit her playstyle. High health and the damage resistance means that she's just going to last really long, but without the resources, she won't be able to play as many cards as everyone else. So you have to really maximize each card that you play. It's very important to do that because your game is going to go long. It's almost guaranteed. It's offset by the limited amount of resources. However, you are still vulnerable to getting swarmed by summons. It's going to be harder to combo you off or have fighters just like run in and kill you because all of their spells are doing less damage. But summons have that repeatable damage is something that you have to be worried about. Although it's key to note that one damage summons don't do anything to you.
They're
so
gonna be a little sad, yeah.
yeah, you don't have to worry about those ones, but
Yeah.
all the other ones that repeat damage are worrisome, especially with your action attack.
Saving 1 HP on every hit you take is your swift ability, or your continuous immediate, however you want to think of it. What that lets you do is it lets you kind of get in closer, give up a turn, like doing a double move, so that on the following turn you can do a single move and then hit for 3 damage, which is like a high amount of damage, as we mentioned. Use your damage resistant as like effective extra movement, just over kind of multiple turns. So Iblis doesn't have a mechanical synergy with breaks. Like the damage resistant is fundamentally reducing your damage, so you're not going to get extra counters, unfortunately. But there is a little bit of synergy with breaks, which is the high health pool. 26 health is nothing to scoff at. Like you can take a couple of hits, play a break later in the game than another champion would, and still have as much health as they would have at the start of the game. And don't discount also reducing the damage numbers you're taking, allowing you to always be paying the minimum number of counters when you activate a break. So that's another important distinction there.
Yeah, and one also key thing is when you play a break, your opponent is going to kill you as fast as possible so that you don't trigger your breaks that often. But Iblis is kind of immune to that. You can't just hit her with as much damage as you want and take her out. You're going to run out of cards. So you have to kind of nickel and dime Iblis, and that really helps her trigger break more often because you're not going to get like 10 counters and trigger. Then you can still get like your 5 to 6 counters and get your breaks off more often.
Yeah, I think just to point out, Eric isn't saying when he says more often that you're going to be triggering a break every turn. What he means is more efficiently, I think is what Eric is trying to get at. It's
Yeah.
like people aren't going to be able to knock you to 12, and then you're like, okay, guess I'll remove 12 counters and do a draw break for 2 cards. It's going to be so much harder for them to over damage you and make your breaks worse.
And then we also have self healing. So another thing we can look into is healing Iblis. In Bellum has some healing cards, and because of your damage resistance, every health you gain is actually more than the written health, so to speak. It's hard to say exactly how much more depending on how much damage your opponent's doing, the less damage you're doing the per hit, the more your healing is effective. Getting that extra healing will allow you to last a lot longer than it would on other champions.
So the way you want to use Iblis is kind of trade that health more readily and use both aggressive and defensive movement to pick and choose any of your battles, and also use your defensive ability to be able to be more aggressive. So really interesting stuff.
Yeah. And,
definitely a harder champion to figure out.
Yeah, definitely a hard champion to figure out. We'll see. We're actually just as curious as everyone else about how to build her properly. But as we mentioned before, she needs to maximize every card. So let's look at some cards that she can maximize. So we have our cards. First card, as we mentioned before, about her breaks. We're going to look at Beck and Break. So this is another one of the breaks. Whenever you lose life, put a counter on this card for each life lost. And then at the beginning of your turn, if Beck and Break has 5 or more counters, you may remove all counters. If you do, you place a Rhinovirus from your subconscious on a spot adjacent to you, facing the same direction as you, then exert it. A Rhinovirus is a 3/3 with an electric attack. This card, this is one of those breaks you're talking about. You're going to be able to trigger this multiple times throughout the game, and it's just a cheap way of getting bodies onto the battlefield. It costs 8 aura, but if you can get even just one summon out that costs 9 aura, you've already made your aura back, so to speak. And every time you get one is basically just free. Iblis can kind of get an army out if she can get multiple Beck and Breaks out for a low aura, which is what you want.
Yeah, I know as competitive players, we kind of frown and, don't look too nicely on the 5G, 3 health, 3 attack summons. Like, we kind of want more. We're greedy. Competitive players are greedy. Mm-hmm. But if you're getting them for free, that's a completely different question. Like, it's just like 3/3s. Like, it's not the body that we don't that we're not the biggest fans of. It's having to put a 5G card that only does 3 damage with free attack. That's where we're like, maybe. Free ones, yeah, sign me up.
Yeah, especially on a delay, you got to put this on, you got to trigger it, you got to wait for it to get unexerted, take some time. But again, you have the time to wait. It's worth it.
But yeah, I guess hopping to our next card, we've got Divine Blessing. So this is a really interesting one because we have a 7 chi, a Cure 4 ability for a 10 aura. So, I mean, what's going on here? Like, there's an awareness Divine Blessing, so it's kind of wanting you to heal summons, but that's not the direction we're thinking of with Iblis. Iblis, we're thinking of the fact that we get a bit more effective HP off these kind of cards, and the Modify Stack 5 there, because we were kind of talking about earlier about biding your time, waiting for the right moment, the Modify Stack is maybe potentially something that we can pull off consistently. And if Iblis is gaining 8 life in one turn for one card, that 8 life is definitely closer to 10 life than it is to 8 life, because it's going to take 2 hits to get through 8 life, which means you're saving 2 damage at a minimum.
Yeah, this is going to be a lot, and especially if you can get a lot of summons out with Beck and Break, you are going to be more likely to trigger this. And then if you can trigger that Modify Stack, you can get more Beck and Breaks, so they help with each other. So this will definitely something. If you can figure out a way to consistently get that Modified Stack, it's going to be insane.
If you're gaining large chunks of life, no one uses that life better to convert it into more turns, into more damage than Iblis with that protection
and if
ability.
We're having more turns, then we want our opponent to have less turns. So let's see what we have next on the list.
Well, is that a recurring source of damage I spy there, Eric?
That's right. That is a guaranteed kill on your opponent. I see. They can't stop it except for one card in the set. But we don't have to worry about that. We have a Caustic Millipede. This is 8 chi, 6 health, 4 damage. But the most important part is it gives decay to everything it hits, or anything it hits. So we mentioned this card in our Phage cards, but I think it's strong enough to mention again with Iblis, because we mentioned how she can last a long time. She's got the health, the damage reduction. She can kind of bide her time. This is a summon that is very strong, and it's pretty low in aura for what you get, and it just guarantees that your opponent will die eventually if you can survive long enough.
Absolutely. So just trying to take advantage of those extra turns that Iblis buys. Moving on, we've got our next card, which is Recomposition. So this is action. Execute. Reveal the top 2 cards of your timeline. You may put any of them in your memories. And then put the rest back in order. So this is an interesting one. The health payment isn't working with Iblis. Iblis is continuous ability, but it is working with that 26 health pool, right? Let's not ignore that you start the game with 26 health, which is almost unheard of in Genesis. Yeah, this isn't so much synergizing because you are giving up health, which potentially with your damage resistance can be worth a little bit more. But this is a way to kind of fix your deck to make sure you're drawing the cards that you want, right? You get to look at top 2 cards, and if they're both 3 cheese that you don't want, you can just knock them off the top and leave them in your memories. And then find the higher quality cards and use that time. This is using the time Iblis buys you to make your hand better.
And this doesn't use your aura or energy, just 1 health, which is good because since you don't have that much aura, it allows you to sculpt your future draws, which allows you to play the cards that you actually want to play and use that aura or energy more efficiently.
Yeah, to kill your opponent.
Yeah, that's right.
All right, Eric, what do you have for us?
Yeah, well, it's something to kill our opponent. So we have Sudden Vengeance. So this is my spoiler. Hey, look at that. But this is an HE card that can deal 6 damage, and importantly, it can warp you to another spot. So there's a couple key things here. You have your action attack, which makes it hard to get on the people, and this helps so you can move a lot further. Move a spot, use your warp, actually get on the person, and hit them for some damage. It also can be paid with aura or energy. Now, they're both high, which is unfortunate, but depending on where you are in the game, if you have spent a lot of aura, you can then use your energy and vice versa. So that flexibility definitely helps you a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And, yeah. This is kind of like synergy with your resource weakness, where it's like whatever you have more of, that's what you're going to be using how you're going to be paying for sudden vengeance. And then also, like, yeah, as Eric mentioned, you have an action speed attack, so people are going to use space on you. So having some stuff that lets you close really stupidly fast, like sudden vengeance does, is absolutely a great direction.
Yep.
To go in.
So these are our cards that we think are going to be good with Iblis. That being said, Iblis is a hard champion to build, and we're looking forward to seeing what other people can find that works with her.
Yeah, in fact, I'm sure there's like some cards that players are screaming at the screen right now. They're like, "Oh, how did they not think of that?" So yeah, please let us know in the comments what we missed.
Yes, tell us we're stupid for missing that card. Yeah.
Yes.
This is our Iblis Time Warp.
Yeah. See you in the next one.